Hello, welcome to Tuesdays Not Today with me, Al Booth. I hope you're well. Thank you for being here. This is what we've got coming up just for you. First, we've been behind the scenes as construction gets going on a Nottingham Charities state-of-the-art new base.
For the charity and for the children and families we work with, it's just all about opportunity. With more facilities, easier to access, level parking on the tram route just means it's more.
And we're going to be discussing the big changes that have been approved for Nottingham's network of libraries. It includes some libraries being handed over to voluntary groups and changes to opening hours. We'll discuss what it all means in just a moment with Joe. And we've spoken to the NTU lecturer working on a study into kinder transport in the lead up to the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz.
It really gives us an opportunity to really thank and acknowledge what the parents did to save their children, to really understand the bravery and the courage and the foresight the parents had as well.
We'll also be chatting with the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds ahead of the big bird watch this weekend. Thousands of bird lovers will be counting their garden sightings within days. The RSPB are going to be here to let you know how you can get involved. And in sport, we'll have reaction after Forest women got back to winning ways on the weekend and continued their unbeaten league campaign with a victory over Sporting Calcer.
I think it was a relief in the end, if I'm honest, to get the 3 points on the board. I don't think we were at our best today. I think these things can happen. You come off the high of the Burnley and the Newcastle game.
Right, got all that and loads more coming up just for you. First though, shh, we're talking libraries. A big decision has been made by senior city councillors which could have a huge impact on provisions all across Nottingham. We told you last week how 4 libraries which were at the threat of closure won't now close. Aspley, Basford and Bilborough are being handed over to voluntary organisations. The 4th library is Radford Lenton. That's going to remain under the control of Nottingham City Council, but it could have its offering reduced. It's part of wider plans to reduce opening hours, and all of it was backed at a meeting today. Well, our local democracy reporter, Joe Locker, was there, and he's here now. Joe, so, yeah, what are these plans then? Talk us through it.
Do I have to whisper them?
No, it's okay, it's not really a library.
Right, so anyway, the plan is to basically cut £1.5 million over the course of 2 years. So to do that, initially, the council proposed to close all 4 of these libraries. That then went out to a consultation, so a public consultation period last year, which achieved over 5,000 responses. So I think it was, the most responses it's ever got to a consultation before. And following that, the council created a new strategy, basically, which was approved by executive councillors today, which saves the libraries from closure, but ultimately changes how they are run. So, as you mentioned before, Radford Lenton will become a stock hub. So it's got quite a large area inside of sort of open space, so they'll use that to store books rather than having that sort of held externally. So the service that it offers will be scaled down. And then the other 3 libraries will be operated by the voluntary sector. So there are 3 voluntary groups which the council's currently talking with to sort of arrange an agreement on how to run these facilities going forward. On top of that, there's going to be cuts to opening hours, so more than 200 hours cut across the board in each and every library. 36 roles cut as well. Most of those are vacancies, but 13 of those are current staff. So 13 staff members will lose their jobs.
Okay. So what are the main concerns with all this then?
Yeah, so we've had concerns across the board. We've got Shagufta Kadus, a councillor who recently defected from the Labour Party to stand independently. She was the former sheriff. She says she's cautiously optimistic, but perhaps a bit sceptical as well. In terms of the fact, she says voluntary organisations don't typically have a lot of money. These are costly facilities to run. And obviously capacity as well, because if you don't have sort of full-time library staff, you've got volunteers ultimately running these services. So is that sustainable really in the long term? We've also had in the meeting today that I've attended Councillor Andrew Rule, who represents Clifton, he said, will these voluntary organisations which currently run services themselves, will they be focused on providing a library service? And during the meeting it was said there is a soft commitment from them to continue to deliver some form of library service, but they may, provide other services within that space too.
Okay. It's caused a bit of a stir, hasn't it? I believe within the Labour Authority.
Yeah, it definitely has done that. So I've heard from a councillor who asked to remain anonymous that a motion was actually proposed. So there was a Labour group meeting held last week before the meeting today, where Labour councillors agreed on the plan basically. A motion to keep all libraries in-house was proposed, but ultimately, the councillors who proposed this motion were told it's just not financially sustainable to do so anymore. And then after a bit of what I was told was an explosive debate, some councillors left Loxley House in protest, so it seems like there was quite a lot of concern. And then this councillor also says they were concerned and worried to attend future Labour group meetings because of the atmosphere on the night. So it does seem to be causing a ruckus really, and as I said before, with Councillor Caduce, she's already defected from the Labour Party. Could we have more in the coming months? Who knows, but as we've seen in Broxtowe, people aren't shying away from defecting to stand independently.
Oh, maybe a new trend then. Possibly. Well, obviously, it's an ongoing thing. We always seem to be talking about the libraries. There's no stability with them, is there? There's always something coming up. But yeah, thank you, and dare say we'll talk to you again about it. And indeed, we will have more coverage from the protest before today's meeting on tomorrow's show. There we go, right. Let's move on now. This week, Nottingham-based children's charity Footprints has set foot inside its new home for the very first time. The charity has been working with children with disabilities and their families for decades. It's currently housed at the Iona School in Sneinton. Now though, construction has started so the charity can move into the former Highbank Community Centre in Clifton. And once it opens, the new facility will offer more space. It'll have sensory rooms, even a community coffee bar as well. Jack Sims has been along to have a look.
From abandoned building to specialist family care, it's a new lease of life for the former Highbank Community Centre in Clifton. Nottingham-based children's charity Footprints has been supporting disabled children and their families across the East Midlands for decades. This work was all being done from the shared walls of the Iona Primary School in Sneinton. Despite being based in the school since 2011, the charity has always looked for a place it could call home. Footprints was given the keys to the centre and a 7-year lease last summer, but this week work has officially started, with various contractors breaking down and building back up the new site. When they're done, it will bring purpose-built session rooms, sensory areas and a coffee bar, which will serve hot drinks to the wider community too. For Footprints' business and charity manager, Stephen Frew, he says the new space will be a game changer for families and volunteers.
For our families, it's going to be scary. Those who have come to us for years, they're going to have to move. But actually, for the charity and for the children and families we work with, it's just all about opportunity. A building we're in control of, with more facilities, easier to access, level parking on the tram route, just means it's more.
Families like Jo Powell and her son Tom, who has Down syndrome, have been using the charity to improve his mobility. Jo says how the purpose-built site will provide more to families such as theirs.
Because they've got the extra space at Clifton to do separate speech therapy, they're not having to wait for the physical sessions to be finished. They're going to have their own space. It'll make it a lot easier.
But a new start comes with new challenges, and for the charity's head of income, Josie Parks, she's operating 2 sites at once. This means more support from fundraising is a must.
Obviously the charity, we're always fundraising just to keep the charity running, and so we do events constantly throughout the year. Now we've got to keep the charity going at the same time as making the transformation happen. So for us being able to work with partners, businesses coming together, it really makes such a difference.
There is no official opening date yet, but there are a wide range of events planned when this does happen, and that is when actual footprints will be left from those first steps to introduce this vital service into the Clifton community. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Well, let's have a look at some more news headlines now. And a teenage boy's been arrested after a school pupil was allegedly hit with a hammer. Nottinghamshire police were called to Redhill Academy in Arnold at 9:45 on Monday morning. That was after reports a pupil had suffered a head injury. He was taken to hospital with injuries not thought to be life-threatening. The force says a 15-year-old boy was arrested on suspicion of GBH and possessing an offensive weapon. He's been bailed while investigations continue. And a man's appeared in court after a suspected knife-point robbery at a Reneth petrol station. Officers were called to the garage on Kirklington Road at about 10 p.m. on Saturday, January the 18th. An offender fled with cash from the till after entering the shop with a knife. Officers were able to identify the suspect, 35-year-old David Cook of the Hayfields in Reneth, then appeared at Nottingham Magistrates Court on Monday. He was charged with robbery and possessing a knife. He'll appear in Nottingham Crown Court next month. Now, it is the time of year for change, isn't it? And if you're thinking of having a bit of a change of scenery, we're going to be talking all things jobs and employment with the Department for Work and Pensions. They'll be here to let you know what you can look around for. And we've got a full sport roundup coming up as well as a chance to spot some birds. Nice. Hello, welcome back to Tuesday's show. I'm Al, I hope you're well. This is what's happening in Notts today. The government has confirmed a major delay to plans for a rebuild of some of Nottingham's hospitals. Health Secretary Wes Streeting confirmed improvements to the QMC and City Hospital, known as tomorrow's NUH, but it won't start until at least 2037. And that's despite the previous Tory government promising the work would be complete by the end of this decade. Anthony May, the hospital's trust chief exec, said it'll mean a significant delay for a new centre for women, children and families and people wanting bespoke cancer care in Nottingham. And Ashfield councillors have backed calls for life-saving defibrillators to be installed in all police cars across Nottinghamshire. The vital kits give a high-energy shock to someone in cardiac arrest and they're becoming more common around towns and city centres. But Ashfield District Council has approved a backbench motion calling for more of the life-saving kits to be placed in police cars. And they're often the first responders to emergencies. It's in response to the government figures showing only 1 in 11 police cars are fitted with the equipment. Now, we're going to take a look at the latest job figures and vacancies as we are well into the swing of New Year. And with the start of New Year comes new opportunities to find work. There are quite a lot of vacancies for jobs in security and in admin as well, more than 200 available where we are. So let's find out more from Simon Laval from the Department of Work and Pensions. And we are well into the New Year, but we still greeted each other with Happy New Year. So
we did indeed. I don't know when we stopped doing that, but...
So how are things looking then? You know, you kind of got all that festive bar work and all that. Well, that seems ages away now.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. What happens in the new year?
So even though we've been sorting out for the festive season, our employment advisors are going out to meet all sorts of employers to try and build up the jobs vacancies for our local people. The massive one is obviously in February, on the 5th of February, there's a jobs fair at East Midlands Airport.
Yeah,
see, that's
huge
quite
one
easy.
as well, isn't it?
Massive. It's quite easy for people to get to from here. You know, we can sort out fares to get to the recruitment day. We can sort out fares, obviously, for people to go to work initially until their first pay packet. And there's things like there's shop work, there's hospitality, bars, hotels, ground crew, security, and cargo. So there's absolutely loads that can suit anyone.
And certainly around that area as well, with everything that's just, you know, grown over the past few years and is going to continue to grow as well. There's going to be more jobs coming up. But
like Nottingham will as well.
Yeah.
You know, because we're in the middle of the country, people are looking at relocating.
Yeah, absolutely. And the bus links to the airport are brilliant, aren't they, as well? But like you say, you can cover the cost of those. Loads of job fairs. Is this the thing at the start of the year? It's when all the I know you have job fairs throughout the year, but the big ones at the start of the year. Then.
Yeah, the massive, like you say, we have them all through the year, but the massive ones are at the beginning of the year, obviously. More will come towards April and etc. There's a massive one at Motorpoint on 7th of February. You need to register for a free ticket on their website. That's in conjunction with obviously the employers and the local authority as well. It's massive, and there's literally 50 odd, if not more, employers there as well.
Do you know as well? I think we were talking. Adam came on yesterday to talk about it was Blue Monday, all that rubbish, but just about getting out and meeting people, and it's the same with jobs, isn't it? So with job fairs, and you can apply online, and you're just a name on a piece of paper or whatever. But if you actually meet someone face to face, an employer face to face, it makes a bit of a difference.
I've always said that going to jobs fairs, and sometimes we have like speed dating events for employers and our claimants to meet. It's a real life CV.
Yeah.
You can get your skills out there. You'll have skills that you don't think you can use, but can actually go on to other jobs. You can impress, the way you speak. It's your foot in the door before you've even had the interview.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful way, jobs fairs, I think.
And it's putting your face to the name, isn't it, as well? CV, and someone sees it, but they remember you. And
like you touched on, just a name on a piece of paper when you apply online, but to actually see that you're not just a name, you're a human being, and you can see if you fit in.
A fit, that's the thing.
Exactly that.
So I did radio years ago, and someone called me down and said, "Look, when you've been doing radio long enough, I know you can do radio. It's you're here to see whether or not you call me a swear word, but see whether or not you're going to fit in." And that's so important, isn't it? Massively. Which is why job fairs are such a great thing.
Massively, yeah. And there's also Arnold running at the Civic Centre. They're running an apprenticeship and recruitment event on Tuesday, 11th of February, and that's obviously aimed at the younger people as well. So that's a good thing to send your kids along to.
Yeah. I just realised I didn't get that job, so maybe I was what he thought I was.
I'm used to being sworn out. I work for DWP.
And I know anxiety, actually meeting people is quite a big thing. Meeting people face to face is so easy to email. But actually, you help with that anyway, don't you, at DWP? Interviews and face-to-face
interview techniques. I mean, the NHS support team are going in the Central Job Centre on Upper Parliament Street on the 24th, so this week, to assist with their application process. Where, like you say, some people might not have the confidence. Some people think they might sort of have no or little qualification. So these people actually help them help them apply for the jobs on NHS. There's thousands of jobs at NHS, and many are non-clinical.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so we do try and build people's confidence. We send them to CV classes, etc., etc.
Okay.
For people with health conditions, we can also send disability employment advisors out to support the customer at these jobs fairs, etc.
Okay, just remind us where people can obviously get in touch physically and come out and see you, but online, where can people come?
Online, so where I get the list of jobs I give you, like the hospitality 39 jobs, it's find a job on gov.uk. Send a journal message if you're on Universal Credit, or just pop into Job Centre, because there is boards like the olden days where we do sort of say this employer is, and how to apply for it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for
having me on. I'll see you next month. Now, let's move on to sport, and we'll start with the Nottingham Panthers. They came from behind on the weekend to beat Coventry Blaze at the Motorpoint Arena, and they did so with the final 12 minutes through goals by Otto Nieminen and Cooper Zech, the latter scoring his first goal for the Panthers, and that win kicked off a positive weekend, which also included victory over the Five Flyers in Scotland. Panthers are now preparing for another match at home to Guildford tomorrow. After the Coventry win, Zech said it was great to open his scoring account.
It felt nice, finally get the monkey off the back. It was a tough stretch with a lot of chances and they just wouldn't go, so hopefully get something going. Usually, it's always passed for me, but that one I wanted, and I had the space, and I wanted to go down and do what ended up happening, so it worked out. Yeah, it was great. We needed that. It was one of those games, took 55 minutes or whatever to score one, so yeah, good to finish it off. Yeah, no doubt. It's just the resilience the group has, and it's not easy. You think it's never going in, and then all of a sudden one goes and capitalize on it. It was a fun one.
And we will have all the action from the win over Coventry, including Zech's goal, right here on the channel on Wednesday night at 9 p.m. after Team Talk. And that's the first of two games on Notts TV this week. We've got the clash against Guildford, which faces off tomorrow evening at the Motorpoint. You can see that right here at 7:30 on Friday. Just a final bit of Panthers news as well. The Sheffield Steelers player arrested following the tragic on-ice death of Adam Johnson has again been bailed by police. The Panthers forward died after an incident on the ice during a clash with the Steelers back in October 2023. Steelers player Matt Petgrave, aged 32, later identified himself as the man arrested on suspicion of manslaughter after he launched a legal fundraiser to support a potential defence. He's again been bailed by South Yorkshire Police while investigations continue. Right, moving on to football, and Nottingham Forest women were back in action at the weekend and got 3 points on the road against Sporting Council thanks to Katie Dungate's 74th minute strike. The Reds travel to the West Midlands for their Northern Premier Division clash against 10th place Sporting. It was Forest's first league encounter of the calendar year and a result that puts them in the top spot position, a point ahead of Wolves, still unbeaten. Here's head coach Carly Davies' thoughts on the game.
I think it was a relief in the end, if I'm honest, to get the 3 points on the board. I don't think we were at our best today. I think these things can happen. You come off the high of the Burnley and the Newcastle game, albeit we lost the Newcastle game. The performance was excellent, and we was disappointed that day. And I think sometimes things like this can happen. But I think the key thing is when you're probably not at your best. But you probe and you keep going, and we got obviously the goal in the end. I think that's what's important, and that's going to be important if we're going to be successful this season and in achieving what we've set out to do. They were going to be resilient. I knew that. I knew it was going to be a completely different game to what it was when we played them at the start of the season at the City Ground.
And exciting news coming out of Forest men. Reports suggest the club have tied down informed defender Murillo on a new contract. The fan favourite Brazilian centre-half's been in fine form. He's helped the club to their impressive 8-game unbeaten run in the Premier League, and now reports are suggesting Forest and Murillo's team have signed a contract extension to keep him at the City Ground until June 2029 and give him a bit of a pay rise as well. The club's expected to announce the news officially soon, but we just thought we'd let you know first. Now, across the Trent, Notts County remain inside the top 6 of League 2 after their 3-0 win over Accrington Stanley on the road. George Abbott opened the scoring in the 16th minute with a thunderstrike volley into the top corner. It came from a lofted ball from a corner after David McGoldrick grabbed a brace to secure a comfortable win for the Pies. After the game, defender Rod McDonald, who's a new starter, said he wants to keep his position in the team.
I said to the boys who scored, they owe me a little bit of money because I got them 2 goals today with the blocks. Now I'm only joking, but yeah, the boys have been terrific, and obviously Steve's set pieces have paid off. Yeah, it's been frustrating. I think obviously with me being left-footed, maybe the gaffers never thought about playing me on the right until obviously Nessie and Macari did, and then obviously I played on the right and I've shown them what I can do. So hopefully I'll just nail this position now for the rest of the season. And then, like you say, Accrington's always a tough place to come, so to get anything here is always good. So yeah, great day all around.
Now, let's have a look at your photo of the day. This is a great shot. It's Bestwood Country Park. Steve Plawinski took it. Look at 2 horses just in love. Right, time for your weather now. And highs of 6 today, dropping to 3 over into tomorrow, which is going to be a cloudy one. Should be dry though. Highs of 6 again. Getting chilly into the nights. On Thursday, we're going to have highs of 7. But it's going to have lows of 2 as we head into Thursday evening and overnight. Now, we're going to have to talk healthy eating. I've given up, maybe you haven't, and there's somebody on next who can help you if you're looking for tips and hints. Hello, welcome back to Notts Today with me, Al Booth. I hope you're well. Thanks for being here. This is what's happening in Notts Today. A former McDonald's in Nottingham, which suddenly closed, could become new student flats. The McDonald's branch on St Peter's Square closed in 2023. The building has been empty ever since. But developers Arca's property have table plans to convert the upper floors into student accommodation. The retail unit on the ground floor would be kept, but the first and second floors would be converted to create 16 student beds. They're going to be reviewed at a later date. And Mansfield Council housing tenants could see their rent going up by as much as £2.70 a week for a 3-bed home. Mansfield District Council wants to increase social housing rents by 2.7% from April. That's the most councils are allowed to rise bills by, but if it goes ahead, it'll mean a one-bed property pays £2.30 more a week, rising to £2.53 more for a two-bed property. The decision is due next month. Now, it's the middle of January, and if you're bored of staying in and you fancy a night out, I'll tell you what you can get up to now with our What's On guide. Kicking it all off at Coco Tang Cocktail Bar. It's their House of Disco nights. You can see some live saxophone performances, and it all starts at 10:30. There are still tickets online. Go to Fatsoma for that if you want to go along. Or over at the Bodega on Pelham Street, the Early November band are performing. 7:30 is when they're on. Doors open at 7. If you want to get a good seat, you can get your tickets on the door for that one. Or, lastly, but by no means least, it's the Nottingham IVC regular club night at the Ferry Inn in Wilford. People are meeting there at 8 p.m. Why not just go along and find out what that's all about? Whatever you're up to tonight, have a good night. Right, it's time for our great guests now on the show, because it's that time of year when many of us are trying to eat healthier, and well done to you if you're sticking with it. I fell off about a day into it, I think. And if you are trying to shed pounds, then you could be the person needed for a new University of Nottingham study into the brain and blood benefits of a healthy diet. They're looking for people to take part in a 4-week study. All your food is provided, and it will contribute towards breakthroughs in how healthy lives promote healthy brains and prevent conditions like dementia. Associate Professor of Human Nutrition Moira Taylor and researcher and PhD student Mishari Alharbi are here now to tell us more about it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the study first of all then. So what are you looking at in particular?
Well, thank you for having us on the show and being able to tell everybody about the work that we're doing. So, as you say, a lot of people, it's the time of New Year's resolutions, and a really important part of a lot of people's aim to change their behaviour is around improving their diet and their health. And our study is really focusing on a really important part, which is fruit and vegetables. And a particular star of the fruit and vegetable department may well be beetroot.
Right.
The reason why is because it may be associated with improving our blood vessels, our cardiovascular system, including the blood vessels to the brain. And if we can open up those blood vessels, it can in fact improve our memory, concentration, and how we really process information that we receive. So the work that we're doing is really looking at the effect of increasing our consumption of beetroot in the form of a juice, and comparing just beetroot juice with a diet where we're going to design it especially to help people to in fact lose weight on that diet. And we're looking at how the two add together, and whether that's beetroot juice on its own or beetroot juice plus weight loss diet is actually more beneficial for our brain health.
Okay, so the actual study itself then, when you get people, we'll talk about how you want to recruit, so what's the study going to involve?
So basically the study involves 3 visits at the University of Nottingham. The first visit, which is the screening visit, so after completing the online screening, we will ask the participant to come to do a clinic screening visit, and at that time we will check their suitability and if they are fitting the study criteria. And after that, we will invite them to the second visit, which is the first measurement. At that time, we will do a brain MRI scan, blood flow measurement, and simple computer-based task to check to assess their memory and concentration. And in the following 4 weeks, they will follow 2 diets. So each participant will be allocated randomly to either diet. The first one is weight loss diet. The second one is a diet that meet their energy requirement. And after that, the final visit, by that time we will repeat the same measurement, and they can discuss their diet with the registered dietitian.
Oh, okay, right. So that's fascinating. So you can actually see whether the beetroot is improving the brain, as well as, like you say, as well as the physical fitness. But that's fascinating. So so who are you looking for in particular?
So we're looking at for men and women aged between 60 and 75 who are overall healthy and living with overweight or obesity, and based within 10 miles of Nottingham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was just saying when you came in, I was like, I'd have done this as well.
It's not we don't want to be younger, is it?
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The first time I've ever wanted to be at 6. So how do we know beetroot is good for the brain? I mean, we know this already, and you're just...
Yes, there's evidence already that beetroot contains particularly high levels of dietary nitrate, and the body's able to convert that dietary nitrate to nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a compound that helps to open up our blood vessels, and that, including the blood vessels to the brain, increases the potential flow of blood to the brain.
This is going to sound like a really silly question. Does that count with pickled beetroot in a jar?
Yes.
Okay, that's good, because I like that. I don't like normal beetroot.
Yes, it certainly does.
And the links with dementia then, this is something you're going to be looking at?
So it's particularly important with older people. Well, all healthy eating is about our health now, but it's also about protecting our health in the future, because we want to extend people's lives, but quality of life. So, good physical, mental health as people get older. So we're particularly focusing on that older group to see whether there's a greater impact in that particular group. And obviously concentration, memory, and this what we call executive processing, which is how we process information that we receive, is obviously something that falls off with ageing, but also with dementia it will fall off to a greater extent. So it's something that would be particularly beneficial in something like vascular dementia, where our blood vessels are narrowing down more and causing some other problems.
Yeah, in addition to that, we also have published a recent study which is similar to this one, but this one will be a longer with controlled diet and advanced techniques.
Fantastic. Very quickly, because we've run out of time, how can people get in touch?
So they can find us on Facebook page, which is Nutrition and Brain Health Research Study. Nutrition and Brain Health Research Study.
Fantastic. Thank you. And if you're doing it in 13 years, I'll come back and tell you.
We'll bet that's right.
Right, now something we've been talking about on the show, and the children's charity Footprints has got its new home. It has been working with children with disabilities for decades and their families as well. It was based at Iona School in Sneinton. Now it is going to be moving into the former Highbank Community Centre in Clifton, and Jack Sims has been to look.
From abandoned building to specialist family care, it's a new lease of life for the former Highbank Community Centre in Clifton. Nottingham-based children's charity Footprints has been supporting disabled children and their families across the East Midlands for decades. This work was all being done from the shared walls of the Iona Primary School in Sneinton. Despite being based in the school since 2011, the charity has always looked for a place it could call home. Footprints was given the keys to the centre and a 7-year lease last summer. But this week, work has officially started, with various contractors breaking down and building back up the new site. When they're done, it will bring purpose-built session rooms, sensory areas and a coffee bar, which will serve hot drinks to the wider community too. For Footprints' business and charity manager, Stephen Frew, he says the new space will be a game changer for families and volunteers.
For our families, it's going to be scary. Those who have come to us for years, they're going to have to move. But actually, for the charity and for the children and families we work with, it's just all about opportunity. A building we're in control of, with more facilities, easier to access, level parking on the tram route, just means it's more.
Families like Jo Powell and her son Tom, who has Down syndrome, have been using the charity to improve his mobility. Jo says how the purpose-built site will provide more to families such as theirs.
Because they've got the extra space at Clifton to do separate speech therapy, they're not having to wait for the physical sessions to be finished. They're going to have their own space. It'll make it a lot easier.
But a new start comes with new challenges, and for the charity's head of income, Josie Parks, she's operating 2 sites at once. This means more support from fundraising is a must.
Obviously the charity, we're always fundraising just to keep the charity running, and so we do events constantly throughout the year. Now we've got to keep the charity going at the same time as making the transformation happen. So for us being able to work with partners, businesses coming together, it really makes such a difference.
There is no official opening date yet, But there are a wide range of events planned when this does happen, and that is when actual footprints will be left from those first steps to introduce this vital service into the Clifton community. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Now, dramatic pictures have shown the effects of a waste bin fire thought to be caused by a vape. It involved a Broxtowe Borough Council lorry on Pearson Avenue in Chilwell and meant waste collectors had to tip their load into a nearby car park. It's led to the fire service and the council issuing a plea for lithium batteries found in things like vapes and laptops not to be disposed of in household waste bins. They say they can spontaneously ignite and burn at high temperatures. And a man has appeared in court after drugs and suspected drug money were found during a warrant search. Officers raided a flat in Radford Road in New Basford on Saturday, January the 18th. They found cocaine, crack cocaine and more than £1,000 in cash. A man was arrested and 25-year-old Jake Chapman of Radford Road has been charged with possessing with intent to supply Class A and B drugs. He appeared at Nottingham Magistrates Court on Monday and will be in Crown Court next month. Now, on the way, I'm going to speak with an NTU lecturer who is supporting Jewish children who escaped the Nazi Holocaust, and we're talking RSPB Birdwatch next. Hello, welcome back to Tuesday's show. I'm Al, thanks for being here. This is what's happening in Notts today. First, a series of improvements connecting Nottingham with a rural Rushcliffe village have been set out by bus company Trent Barton. The enhancements will affect the Keyworth service and will come into effect from Sunday, February the 2nd. They include earlier arrivals, better city stops, a 15-minute frequency and new buses introduced onto the route. It includes all Keyworth services serving Mount Street in the city centre. Trent Barton says the improvements will improve travel for people using the route. Nottingham's Playhouse has been selected as just one of 2 theatres of the year at a national ceremony. That's brilliant. Popular theatre on Wellington Circus was handed the accolade at the National Stage Awards held last night at the Royal Opera House in London. It won the prize alongside the capital's Orange Tree Theatre. Both of them were praised for their strong artistic leadership and A-game programming in 2024. They were also praised for offstage projects like workshops and activities to support local artists and communities. Now, next Monday marks Holocaust Memorial Day, but it's also exactly 80 years to the day since the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. Well, a researcher from Nottingham Trent University has been uncovering new details surrounding the fate of thousands of Jewish children who fled Nazi Germany and occupied territories as well before the Second World War began. Dr. Amy Williams discovered copies of records documenting more than 90,000 children's journeys to Allied countries at the World Holocaust Remembrance Centre in Israel. She's working with a former NTU researcher, Professor Bill Niven, to help families learn more about the circumstances of their ancestors. Here's what Dr. Williams told us.
The Kindertransport was essentially a rescue operation that took place between 1938 and 1940, and it was to bring children with Jewish heritage out of Greater Germany, Austria, Czechoslovakia, to places like Britain, but also to Sweden, Holland, France, Denmark, Belgium, other countries. It was a rescue operation that took place before the Second World War. So this research essentially came about because I'm here in Israel on a fellowship at Yad Vashem, so I'm here researching for my second book, co-authored with Professor Bill Niven on the transnational history of the Kindertransport. I essentially found them the second week I was at Yad Vashem. I came across the lists, not looking for them. I came across them in a Dutch archive. The copies in Yad Vashem are great because obviously they're accessible here. They're accessible to researchers and family in Israel. But like I said, the ones at Yad Vashem are digitized. They're very quick to access. Many families aren't really aware if they were on a Kindertransport or not. So we can essentially reconstruct the Kindertransport because of this. There is a lot of myth still around the Kindertransport that we're able to dispel because of these lists. It shows you the desperation of people wanting to get out. It shows you how, some of these lists are accompanied by letters from parents that I read one letter, it said 3 times, for God's sake, get my child out. So you really become aware of just how dire the situation was for families then. And it also enables us 86 years on to really understand the bravery and the courage and the foresight the parents had as well. So it really gives us an opportunity to really thank and acknowledge what the parents did to save their children.
Now, the world's largest garden wildlife survey returns this weekend, where hundreds and thousands of residents from across the country keep their eyes peeled to spot all the garden birds they see flying about in the skies. The RSPB's Big Garden Bird Watch gets people to watch and count the birds they see to give a snapshot of how our garden birds are doing in the UK. More than 600,000 people took part in last year's event, counting more than 9 million birds. In Nottinghamshire, more than 10,000 people took part. Communications Officer at Sherwood Forest and Budby South Forest, Rob James, is here now to talk all about it. Rob, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
The first thing, are we going to see that many birds? Because it's still quite cold, isn't it?
Well, this is what we're trying to find out, obviously. I mean, this is a good time of year to see how our bird life is faring. And our gardens and our outdoor spaces and parks are a great way of understanding, just what their numbers are like.
So, first of all, let's find out how we can get involved. So,
the easiest way to get involved is going online, the RSPB. So, RSPB website.org.uk/birdwatch. I'll give you all the details there, so you can register for it there. You can get your pack, so you can help identify the birds that you see landing in your garden. And it's the birds that land in your garden that we want you to count. So what you need to do is just basically take an hour over the weekend, so starting on Friday 24th to Sunday the 26th, pick that hour and just, in your chosen space, watch how many birds land, count how many you see of one species at any one time. So it's a fascinating way of finding more about birds generally.
So I've asked you that question. I know that was the benefit of you at home, because I've got my pack and my 7-year-old and I are really looking forward to it. He's really up for it, and it's one of those things that he's at that age where we can really bond doing this. I'm really looking forward to it. We've got the pack, it's got all the birds on there. He did ask why there's no crow on there.
Well, it's a good question.
Thanks.
I mean, a crow.
I said I'd ask.
yeah, I can't answer that one here and now, unfortunately. But no, obviously a crow is one of the common birds that many of us will see, particularly as we're driving around or if we're out in the countryside, for example. But we're really interested in those birds that you're more likely to see landing in your garden. So particularly species like house sparrow, for example, which was the most counted last year. But although that's great news in terms of seeing house sparrows, actually their numbers have declined quite considerably in recent years. So some 60% of house sparrows have sort of disappeared from the skies over the last few decades. So it's quite a worrying trend. So it's really important that we are carrying out this incredible survey, because that will tell us really how are our birds faring. When there's so much going on, development, agriculture, that kind of thing, how are the birds coping with that?
I was going to say, because it's a fun thing to do, as fun as a family or individual, but there's a purpose behind it, isn't it? You gather the information and it tells you how the state of affairs.
And even if you see nothing at all, that's important information. We want to know that, because that's really important about, well, why is that the case? So there's been a real impact on birds. We're dealing with a climate emergency at the moment, as everybody knows, and clearly the impact on bird life can be seen from the stats from over the last 50 years, when we've lost 38 million birds from the skies of Britain. Over that time we've counted 195 million in 46 years. But actually that's telling us that actually the number is declining for many species, and that's a real worry.
You say everyone's aware of the climate impact. There's a man just moved into a big house in America who's not so aware, unfortunately, but that's a different subject. So when we're looking out then, are you wanting us to attract the birds, or is this just nip out, just let things be in their natural habitat? Or
I think so, to keep it as natural as you would be. I mean, gardens are a really underrated, important habitat for birds. I mean, there's loads of things, the things you plant in there, the way, if you've got obviously some trees in your garden or bushes, it's really important for birds. So when you think about it, there's loads more garden space than there is nature reserves, that kind of thing. So it's a really important habitat for lots and lots of different species, and that's why it's key that we carry this survey out in our gardens or in our outdoor spaces. It could be in the park, it could be in a yard, it could be in a balcony.
Okay. Well, I think we're going up to the allotment. That's not cheating, is it?
Absolutely not.
I got an
no,
allotment
you can do it there. Yeah.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
For me and my son, there's our little escape, so we'll go up there. But again,
Fantastic.
it's not. You don't have to have sprawling gardens, do you? You know,
No.
if you're in the city or whatever, you can.
Absolutely. Any outdoor space that you want to choose, you can do that, and it tells us wherever you are. It gives us really important data about how our key species are faring.
Well, hopefully all the stats. I'll put it in,
Yeah.
and hopefully all the stats come back and we see some upturn, because it's worrying if, like you say, there's the decline. But yeah,
Absolutely.
But it's a great thing. Just remind us one more time where we can get the packs.
So go online to rspb.org.uk/birdwatch. All the information's there. It'll tell you how you can register, how you can get your pack, and how you can submit your findings at the end.
And when you get it, you can draw a little crow in the corner. Just
Absolutely,
to add
yes.
that on. Yeah. All right, thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Now, it is a new year, and that means a new book club on Notts TV. If you've missed it, you can catch up tonight. It's on at 9 p.m, or you can watch it on demand on the website or on the YouTube channel, Notts TV Official. And it looks like this.
This month on Notts TV Book Club, we're talking about Penance by Eliza Clark, an edgy true crime reconstruction of bullying, occultism and decay set in a northern seaside town. Sounds like fun, it is. Join us on Freeview 7 and Virgin 159 or on demand at nottstv.com.
There's part of it where I feel like I'm reading a story, and then there's part of it where I feel like I'm reading lots of separate pieces, and how do I link them all together? But then as the novel progresses, that kind of eases a little bit to me.
We could sit and unpick about 8 different themes in this book. I also think that the Russian doll effect of it being a book within a book with this like sort of fictional critique of how true journalism should work being sandwiched outside of it. The name of the journalist in the book is an anagram of Eliza Clark's name. So there's sort of messaging about Eliza on the outside creating a piece of fiction, creating a character who's warping the truth of another piece that warps between fiction and non-fiction.
The biggest thing I walked away thinking actually was just what a tricky time it is to be a young person in this day and age with social media. And I think it was so beautifully presented that
But what are the pictures like? You can catch it on nottstv.com. Right, another look at your photo of the day now. This is a great shot. It's Bestwood Country Park. It's Steve Plawinski and 2 young horse... I was going to say horse lovers. I don't know if you could say that. That's weird. Don't know what's happening. Right, tonight it is going to be pretty cold, 3 degrees heading into tomorrow. It's going to be a dry day all throughout tomorrow, reaching highs of 6 degrees. Pretty much a carbon copy of today, really. Dropping to 1 degree into Thursday. It's going to be a bit cold. Thursday, again, same. Highs of 7, nice and dry. There you go. Thank you for being with me today. Mark Dennison's with you for Notts Today tomorrow at 5:30, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.